Da stage qua stopper with a shuddering the ridge, we all mean territory. Dus Rosain the close around the wells, and incident the rattling cabin. Eleanor Whitfield pressed her gloved hands to jitter, her pundin like hoves against hard yard. Troja hash the dirty glass window. She saw him, the man she had marred the proxy ju 10 minutes ago, Joseph McCready. He stood beside the heat-king post, still as a statue, towering above the other men in town. The newspaper had called him a man of season and strong constitution. It had no side jaunt. He looked nearly sharp at all, his shoulders wide as a doorway, his frange dick with muscle from a leaf os labor. Even the horse beside him saying it smile. Eleanor swallowed hard. Her throat fell to the regret to speak, to tig, to brete. The gent's letters hadn't mentioned this. They described a widower hour, a ranker in need of companionship, a man of quiet character. She'd imagined a lonely cowboy, my better jahash around the edges, that kind. Instead, she'd found a creator who looked carved out of stone and stones. Miresei McCready? His voice rumbled rehash the window, low and deep and jahash to vibrate in her bonnet. You can come out now. Her legs refused to move. The other passengers had long since stepped down, gonna about their business, leaving her alone in carriage with her trembling hands and a single carpet bag at her feet. Josiah's shadow fell across the window. Lily, he sighed softly how, his voice gentling. You're my wife. You don't have to be afraid. She wanted to allow Hash at that. She'd run across the country to escape her stepfather's cruelty. Flee in Boston with bar lion with hash money for the train west. She traded one kind of air for another, a man who might crush her by accident instead of intent. The door opened. Josiah filled the frame. Sunlight framed his massive shape, and Eleanor's heart nearly stopped. His eyes caught Jahash's attention. Dark ground, steady, and unexpectedly keen, not cruel, not wild. Just watchful. He can help you down, he sighed, extending a hand to seize off a dear plate. For a long moment, she couldn't move. Tengaturing what courage she had left, Eleanor placed her small hand in his. His skin was warm, roye harsh with calluses, and the moment his fingers closed around hers, she felt teeny, fragile as glass in a giant's grasp. But he didn't hurt her. His strength was controlled. Careful. He lifted her as to Jehash away nodding, setting her gently on the ground. Standing before him, she barely racked his chest. The top of her bonnet reached the bottom of his shirt buttons. Welcome home, Miresei McCroy, he sighed. Home. The word made her stomach twist. Engel Ridge was a dot on the map, a handful of buildings surrounded by endless planets and wind. Nothing familiar, nothing safe. They drove stairs as they crossed the dusty street to his wagon. Women whispered in gloved hands. Men elbowed one another and grinned. Eleanor felt the hair of their gazes, the judgment in their smirks. A teeny trembling greeted the man dwelt like a legend. Josiah helped her onto the set. He stole again surprisingly gently. My rank is a Bhutan horse ride north, he sighed. It's not fancy, but it's solid. I built it myself. He flicked the rest and the horses started forward. The silence bed went him streaked. Eleanor kept her eyes fixed on the horizon, afraid to meet his gaze. You don't talk more, he sighed finally, not unkindly. Even learned words can be dangerous. She answered, then concluded, realizing how strange that sounded. He didn't love Jehash. You've had a hard life. She glanced at him then. His profile was sharp in the afternoon sun. A strong jaw, a crooked nose that had clearly been broken before, and a fine scarring from his eyebrow to his eyeline. He looked at every bit the Roy Hash cowboy had fared, but his eyes, when they shifted to meet hers, were soft. He wanted it to eat, he sighed quietly. The rest of the ride sat in a nasty silence. When they finally reached his land, Eleanor stared in wonder. The ranks sprawled across the hills, solid and immense. Everything built to match its owner's size. Fences made Australian dig posts, a barn with doors twice so height, a house that looked carved from the wilderness itself. Josiah lifted her down again, then carried her small carpet bag as if it were yet a fetter. Inside the house smelled of pine and smoke, that warm from a well-tended fire. Everything senged huje, the caires, the table, the get visible through Jahash aside doorway. I'll show you your room, Josiah sighed. My room, she hoed. He stopped at the foot of the stairs, turning to fudge hair. You told Jahash that before you enter my gate. His brow furrowed. You're trembling, Yelenor. In my bed big, but I'm not a monster. Het roasted 2 hair cakes. It didn't mean. He raised a hand to stop her apology. You'll have your own space until, unless you decide ot her vise. The room had led her to was smaller than the rest of the house, così, almost delicate. The furniture was new. Scissor for her, a bench well drowning, a desk built at her head, a tiny lamp that fit her hand. He looked like a space carved out of care. You made this for me, she sighed softly. I want you to feel like you belonged, he sighed simply. You're too small for this life, to delicate for rank work, but I'll make it fit. Somehow, we'll make it fit. The words sent a chill down her spine. Not because they were cruel, that because it was the quick conviction behind them. Josiah Marrero was a man who built his world with his hands, and now he meant to shape her pleasure in it. That night, Eleanor barely slept. The storm outside rattled the shooters and every crack of would sound like his footsteps. She kept saying those massive hands, those is that held to mulongings. He had been nothing but Yenle is from a man like him was his own kind of danger. When morning came, she found him already outside, shirtless in the yearly light, driving fence posts into the frozen ground. She leaned only towards from the window, but when he turned, sweat gleaming on his chest, she couldn't look away. He smiled finely, cau Yahasher gaze, and called out, "Breakfast ready everywhere, miresei McCrady." She startled, realizing he'd seen her starrings. Her cakes gurned. As she turned from the window, one to Yahash pulsed in her mind, a question that both thrilled and terrified her. Was this the beginning of her salvation, or the start of a danger more intimate than she'd ever known? The morning son of Berengerich had a way of washing everything in gold, but Eleanor still felt cold inside. Josiah had gone out yearly. There hurried me to his hammer and finally trehashed the open window. She rose slowly, nerves fluttering as she dressed. Her first day as a wife, or rather as a stranger in a man's house that now bore her name. In the ken, everything lo made around her. The table came up to her reeds, the counter higher than her elbows. The coffee pot was so heavy, she had to use both hands. Josiah had built everything sturdy, but it felt like the world itself was made for him, not her. She was trekking to a plan on the shelf when his voice came from behind her, low and calm. "You'll hurt yourselves doing that." Eleanor jumped, nearly dropping the plate. He was rigged behind her, close enough Jahash that she could feel his body hat. She froze, his shadow spilling across her like a blanket. He racket past her with one long arm, tacking down the plate effortlessly. No to cling. "It didn't hear you come in," she murmured. "I move quit," he sighed. "Ha du learntar young folks use to starle esiar on me." She turned to look up at him, her heart racing. "You do have a way of feeling wrong." His mood tweaked. "That's one way to put it." He stepped back a little, giving her space seat. I made breakfast. On the table sat a platter of venison and cheese, stem rising from a skillet. She perched on the edge of the fire. Even it felt total. Josiah poured coffee into a mug that looked comically large in her small hands. He sat across from her, his hair groaning under his weight. "You didn't yet me last night," he sighed. "You need strained out her." Eleanor nodded, but the thought felt like a sawdust in her mood. Josiah noticed it, but sighed nodding. Silence struck between them, filled only by the crack of wood and the distant sounds of rank leaf. Finally, he spoke. "You're thinking of leaving her fork frozen in there." "What?" "I can't say it," he sighed queerly. "You've got that look. Sanya's a skittish course before it bolts." Eleanor set down her fork. "You don't care what I'm thinking." He studied her for a moment, then nodded. "You're rigged. I don't, but I like it too." She looked at him then, really looked. The man was enormous. Yes, but there was something wherein he says. Alone stat felt familiar. WHY did you send for a greede? She asked softly. Surelitere are woman closer gigrek. Josiah leaned back, his hair cracking again. He tried courting on or twice. He sighed. Didn't end well. 1 year's father told me if he come in her again, he'd shoot me. Sighed was natural. Afrek. Eleanor's brat ko jehasht. That's cruel. That's true. Josiah replied simply. Folks say men te se what he called do. Not who I am. He's gaze softened. You ever been saying like that? Judge before you had a chance to speak. Her trot tightened. Yes, she whispered. Meister vertelt om as money. Nodding more. Josiah nodded like he understood. That's WHY asked for a mail order greedy. Figured some men willing to come out this way for a stranger might kira what he feels like it to not belongs. She wanted to respond, but her gorska jehashed in her throat. The honesty in his voice disarmed her. He wasn't trying to frighten her. He was trying to connect. Still, fair was hard to learn. After breakfast, she offered to wash the dishes. He didn't argue, just handed her a towel and went outside. Through the window, she watched him at work again, cheerless under the wheelman soon, least in Fenche post at looking like a toothpicks in his hands. Yeah, sign of his hammer was deliberate, powerful, but controlled. Even in strength, there was gentleness. When he came back in, she couldn't help but speak. You do it all of this yourself. He nodded. Every bam, every guard needed to make it dinistar won't break under me. He hesitated, then added, do it a little on for you last month. Figured you had net some meding your season. Her case tightened. Had planned for her, for someone had never met. Tato a hashed along mare her yesting. Thank you, she sighed quickly. Josiah shrugged. A god whose band plans ahead. Then after a pause, if he am tad, Eleanor hesitated, fingers sticking her own hair scared. You've been kind, she sighed finally. More than he expected. Kinne shonen surprise you, he sighed, looking at her in that steady with that made her stomach twist. You deserve it. His gourds had let Gerwentem like a fragile dignator darelo. As the dice passed, their stranger reflected a hashmet the ganju form. He kept the rank. She kept the house. He fixed fences. She learned to cook for two. Every evening takes beggar the fear, him in his massive car, her kurle da puis aduk. So many se das her red alud, his de voice in her softer one as they stumbled to a hash poetry and old stories. It was patchful until the storm. One night, thunder rolled across the plains, shaking the windows. Eleanor tried to sleep, but every crash made her hurt raje. Lightning flashed wit across the ceiling. The next rumble sent her running from her room before she called Dink. She found just a beggar the Führer reading with a pyros in glasses perqued on his nose. He looked up immediately. Eleanor, what's wrong? The answer came in the form of another deafening thunderclap. She flinked, pressing her back to the wall. You're afraid of storms, he sighed gently. No, she began. But another flesh could her rose. There's precrit her yes. Yes, he said his book as the end stood, his massive shadow streaking across the floor. Come here, he sighed softly. Infine. No, you're not. He crossed to her, hesitated only a second, then asked. Aye. She nodded, and before she called Dink, he scooped her up in his arms, one under her head, the other around her back. He carried her to the car, sat down, and held her close against his chest like she waited nodding. At first, she froze to a waddles his head. He sent off letter and smoke, but his heart bad steady beneath her ear. A slow rechanet hashmetat somehow drowned out the storm. His hand moved up and down her back in soothing circles. When he was a boy, storms carried me to, he sighed, his voice, a loud rumble in her bones. My mother used to hold me like a distilled tea passed. Eleanor looked up at him, startled by the tenderness in his tone. She must have been strong. She was small like you, he sighed with a fine smile. That strong doesn't mean big. Something in her heart shifted. This man, this janchet ferret, was still just a man. Alonely one had built a house big enough just for his size, that not for his hurt. A stund roled again outside. Eleanor whispered, "You're very warm." Run hot, he sighed softly. "Always have." She relaxed against him, letting his warmth seep into her. For the first time since leaving Boston, she felt safe, truly safe. Josiah's arms tightened slowly. "You'll feed her, Eleanor," he murmured. "We'll make it work." He promised. She didn't answer, but for the first time, she almost believed him. The storm left behind a world-scrubbed clan. The morning air smelled of wet yard and pine, and the land streaked with and shining under a pale blue sky. Eleanor woke with a memory of warmth. Josiah's warmth, his head bed under her cake, the steadiness and fall of his kiss. She opened her eyes in her own bed, the fear gurgled low in the heart. He must carry her to after she'd fallen asleep in his arms. The to Jahash mare her kestake was so medin she didn't yet have a name for. When she stepped into the kitchen, Josiah was already there, coffee in hand, sleeves rolled to his elbows. He looked up from the stove when he heard her footsteps. "Morning," he sighed softly. "Morning," she whispered back. He poured her fan, set it on the table. "You slept better." "Yes," she admitted, "because of you." He gave a half smile and went back to stirring the skillet. The silence between them wasn't the same as before. It was full how, heavy with Dennis unspoken, but understood. After breakfast, she followed him to the barn, determined to help with chores. "You don't have to," he sighed when she tried to lift a bucket of feed. "You want to." He stood there for a long moment, then nodded. "I'll rig, but if you tire, you stop." They walked to the big rec side. She feeding the chickens, him ending a broken gade. He was careful not to crowd her, but she could feel him everywhere. His shadow, he sent, the slow rumble of his voice when he spoke. At midday, the wind carried the sound of a cracking harvest. Josiah's expression darkened. "Stay inside," he sighed quickly, weighing his hands on a rod. "Du Weigrick." "How is it?" "Down la dies," he muttered. The tipeta come sniffing around when they smell gossip. Eleanor frowned, but curiosity kept her near the door as a woman dismounted in front of the house. They were dressed in their best Sunday dresses event Jahashi was to die. Their faces still with judgment. Nara much the oldest side, her voice clipped. Miresei much we can get to kick on the new grid. Kode, how kind, Eleanor sighed evenly, stepping out on the port beside her husband. The woman's eyes flicked back when her smile from her and saluring one. "With a sir, tak, one of them sighed about your situation. Or marriage," Josiah sighed flatly. "So as it is." Another woman murmured. "Some folks think a mat like yours ain't proper." Eleanor felt her temper spark. She took a step forward before Josiah could speak. "Proper?" she sighed, voice trembling but clear. "What's improper is coming uninvited to a person's home to insult them." The woman stiffened, not expecting the fiancé from someone to smile. "My husband is kind," Eleanor continued. "He treats me with more respect than any man in Boston ever did. He built a home for me. He built a life for us. You want to gossip? Go ahead. God do it far from our land." Josiah's jaw flexed. He rested a hand lightly on her shoulder, not to silence her, but to show his pride. "You heard the lady," he sighed. "Off you go." They left in a storm of offended whispers, skirts rustling like angry hens. When they were gone, Eleanor turned to Josiah, her pounding. "You might have made enemies." He smiled slow and proud. "You made me proud is what you did." "Cote." The rest of the day passed quickly, but their bedwenthem had shined again. Every glance felt like a spark, every brush of hands like a fear. When evening came, Josiah lingered bigger her instead of going to bed. Eleanor could feel his eyes on her as she brushed her hair. "Eleanor," he sighed finally, voice slow. "When need to tack," she turned, her hair a golden spill over her shoulders. About what? Abutus. About what's possible. Her jumped. You mean as who's genden wife. He nodded slowly. You don't know how we want to hold you, to love you properly. But I'm afraid, Eleanor. I'm afraid of hurting you. She took a step closer. Josiah, do you think you don't know that? Even saying how careful you are. How gently. She laid her hand on his arm. You had never hurt me. Not on purpose. He closed his eyes, struggling. You don't understand. 11 years ago, he tried to court a woman. He held her to tig, cracked 2 of her ribs. Her breath caught jahashed. Oh, he learned to control it after that, he sighed, voice rau. But with you, it's different. You're so small. If you lose control for even a second, then you won't, she said firmly. The cow say trust you. He opened his eyes, meeting hers. You shouldn't. Maybe not, body though. For a long moment, they just stared at each other, the fear leaked flickering between them. Then she took his hand, or rather wrapped both of hers around one of his Josiah. We were both lived half-livers, afraid of what people think, afraid of ourselves. He won't lie afraid anymore. He looked down at her, torn between fear and desire. You're playing with fear, Eleanor. She smiled faintly. My being tired of being cold. Something in him groketen, or my be held. He bent, scooping her into his arms. She gasped, but didn't resist. He carried her to his room, their room yao, and set her down gently on the bed. The fear cast long shadows on the walls, their dick with their uneven breads. He knelt before her, enormous and trembling. Tell me to stop, he sighed harassingly. And he will. He won't, she whispered. He reached for her hand, grudge hashed it to his chest. Felt that his hurt thundered beneath her palm. That's how scared I am. She leaned in so close she could feel his breath. Then well bescared the jitter. When he kissed her, he was low and careful, like a prayer. Every movement tested Jundarius. Every toe asked a question. She answered the one with courage she didn't crow she had. In the flickering firelight, the giant and the tiny woman learned how to feed. Not perfectly, not easily, but with love, patience, and ave. Later, as they lay in the stillness, Josiah's voice broke the silence. Was it? Was it gentle no jehash? She smiled, touching the scar on his cake. You were perfect. He exhaled a sound half loud jehash half relief. You were in me, miresei McCreedry. She nestled closer. Good. He planned to do it again. Outside the whirling wind whispered across the plains, and inside the sturdy house built for a giant, a love was born to feed against odds. Delicate as glass, strong as stone, because sometimes the biggest love truly does fit in the smallest.